Recording. This is quiz, in-class quiz. If you're wondering, your grade is on there. It's just invisible. It's 100. All right, so this was just a would you go away to me? This ish to me. I thought I got it, but then I tried it on a different problem and failed to get it. Okay. All right, so number one, y equals 14 minus 12x squared. Somebody tell me what the answer is. Which I will write letters down in case you didn't get them, okay? So that's B. And this is what I mean by easy ones. You should be able to just look at these. Dos, y, my stylus just ain't feeling it today, equals 2 minus 8x cubed. Spencer, what's the answer? X squared, which is A. 3, y, and I'm just going to keep going, so say stop if I get going too fast. Y equals 5x to the fourth plus 7x cubed minus 4. Sarah, what's the answer?
20x cubed plus 21x squared.
And you will learn very quickly in here, yes, I normally try to spell things out on my test. That will actually help you. There's many a times I do ACDC, ACDC, ACDC. All right, so let's just slow down a little bit for those of you that are new to this, and bear with me, those of you that have had this before. All we're doing, notice, is we're bringing this down, multiplying it, and subtracting 1. Bringing this down, multiplying it, subtracting 1. The derivative of a constant is 0. And so that became 0, bringing that down and subtracting 1, okay? So, I mean, for some of you this is new, so it's going to take you a little bit working these problems just over and over and over till you get this fast at them. All right, 4, Patrick, you're on the clock. 2t squared, I ain't ready. 4t plus 5, which is what, D? Number 5, y equals 7x minus 2 minus 5x to the third plus 2x. My Tony Romo lover.
No, I think negative 14x to the negative cube minus 15x squared.
Very good. And as fast as he said that, I would hope by next week maybe you're that fast. Okay, and that's why, the only reason why I'll probably put only 5 questions on the quiz is one will be a quotient rule. And those just take a little while. All right, 6, y equals 2x squared plus 11x plus 2x to the minus 3. Somebody scream! What's the answer? Anybody? Good Lord, you talk so fast, I couldn't write that fast. A. There's no X there. You blind. All right, that's A. 7. This is probably where some of you start, well, probably even some of the above with the negative exponents. Anytime you see that, go ahead and change it to a negative exponent. Okay, because remember, that's the same thing as e to the first power. When I bring the exponent to the top, it becomes negative. And now what's the answer?
Negative 3z negative 4 plus 1 over z squared.
Yes. So in other words, and that's what you have to be careful of, is that you're bringing that negative and a negative becomes, well, let's do this one first. So that's my negative 3, subtracting 1. So negative and a negative you add becomes negative 4. Bring my negative 1 down, that became positive. Subtracting 1, negative and a negative, my negative 2. And then it is written on your quiz in this format, bring the negative to the bottom, which is C. For me, the first answer is fine, but just look on your multiple choice of which one it'll be. I'm sure the quiz will be multiple choice this Friday. Number 8. R equals 2 over S cubed minus 8 over S. Again, I would rewrite these with negative exponents. Okay, I mean, and this is why I said we're to the point now where we're slowing down. Okay, well, some of you probably can still look at these that have had this in high school, but to the point of slowing down. So what? Hello, what's this derivative?
-6s -4 plus 8.
Okay, and I think, yeah, in your quiz it's written like this, bringing the powers back down. 8s squared, which is B. Let me know if I'm going too fast. I see some of you writing. And again, this is recorded. At least if you're not writing anything, be sure you're checking your answers. So practice these. All right, number 9. Y equals 1 over 5x squared plus 1 over 9x. My only comment on this is be careful. I see students want to bring the 5s and the 9s to the top. You're just actually bringing the variables plus x to the negative 1 over 9. Okay, in fact, you could pull out 1/5 and 1/9. So this becomes minus 2x to the minus 3 over 5, minus x to the minus 2 over 9. And again, in your answer, this stuff's brought back to the bottom. 9x squared, which is D. All right, number 10. Y equals 2x squared plus 10x plus 3e to the x. What's the answer?
4x plus 10 plus 3x.
I'll keep wanting to write an x there. Spencer's got me messed up. Yeah, so remember the derivative of e to the x is just e to the x. Well, I can just pull that constant out front. Okay, so that's all I'm doing is pulling that 3 out front, so that's still 3e to the x, and this is D. Man, when in doubt, pick D, huh? 11 starts second derivatives. So what I meant by easy problems 1 through 10, I could have told you to take the derivative again, and that's what I mean. The 3, what I call easy, may not be easy if this is the first time you're doing this, is I will have you also find second derivatives. All right, so we just mentioned the second derivative is taking the derivative of the derivative, but we didn't really do any of these. So what's the first derivative?
18x.
What's the second derivative?
18.
Okay, so as you see, all they're doing is taking this first derivative, 2 times 9 is 18, subtracting 1. That's just 3, and then here, just 18, and this is B. All right, 12, y equals 6x to the 4th minus 7x squared plus 2. First derivative?
24x to the 3rd minus 14. X.
I was waiting on that. Second derivative?
72x squared minus 14.
There you go. So that's a D. This equals 17t cubed over 3 plus 17. Okay, again, there's nothing wrong if you wanted to rewrite this as 17 over 3 times t cubed, because as you can see, you're just taking the derivative, the constant part just goes out front, so you're just taking the derivative of t cubed, which of course is 3t squared. So if I multiply that out, you should get 51t squared over 3, and that actually becomes that. And so the second derivative, 34t, which is C. I mean, I think for most of you again, not everybody, I think you can see why I say I think the next test is easier. Because there'll be a bunch of these, of course. There'll be other junk, but there'll be a bunch of this junk on there too. All right, 14 just gets weird because, again, it's a bunch of fractions. So just change everything around. 7x squared plus 1 over 11x. So I bring that x squared to the top. Bring x to the first power to the top. And now I just do the same thing. So I bring the negative 2 down. A negative 2x to the minus 3 over 7. Minus, because that's going to be bringing a negative 1 down, minus x to the minus 2 over 11. What's the second derivative?
And plus 2x of negative 3 over 11.
There you go. Okay, so just, probably the hardest thing with these is just don't lose those negative signs. Okay, so now 15 starts product rules. And again, if this is multiple choice, I don't really care how you work these, okay? And what I mean by that is this one, y equals 5x minus 5, 6x plus 1. You could just multiply this out and use the power rule. I got no problem with that. You eventually need to learn the product rule because it may be things you can't multiply, like ln of x times 6x plus 1. It might be something weird like that. I don't remember, did I tell you there will be no notes, no calculators on the quiz Friday? Did I tell you that? Okay, I'm telling you now. Just bringing you down at the end of the class. I mean, so far, except for those of you that have had this big crutch with a calculator, I don't think you've needed a calculator at all. Okay? But I remember teaching algebra the first time here, and I said no calculators, and there was something like 18 times 4, and they're like, oh my God. Yeah. They're babies in algebra, little babies. Okay, so let's do this. In fact, we'll just do it both ways. The product rule says, and again, the order doesn't matter, leave the first one alone times the derivative of the second one, which is? Plus leave the second one alone times the derivative of the first one, which would be? And now I just simply multiply this stuff out. So 30x minus 30 plus 30x, 30 plus 5. So what did I do wrong? Nothing.
Never wrong.
Tell my husband that. He knows that already. I tell him enough times. All right. Okay, so again, you could have done this. Minus 5 times 6x plus 1. You could have just went ahead and multiplied this out, meaning 30x squared plus 5x minus 30x minus 5, 30x squared minus 25x minus 5, and you take the derivative, and don't you get that? This is where I was saying if you want to multiply that out, you can. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know. In this problem, it's probably faster if you're good at multiplying binomials. All right, 16. Again, you could multiply out. Is 5x cubed plus 3 times 2x to the 7th minus 5. The reason why I mentioned no notes and stuff like that, I will give you the formulas for the product rule and quotient rules. Okay, again, most of you know it already, but for those of you that this is new, I don't want you to panic over memorizing those rules. So that's a y. Y prime, leave the first one alone, times what's the derivative of the second one? 14x. Foot's going to sleep. Plus, leave this one alone. What's the derivative of the second one? 15x squared. And now just away you go, multiplying stuff out. And you should get, did I give you the, yeah, I gave you the answer up there somewhere. Let's see. Okay, so 16, when you multiply all this out, you should get this. 2x to the 6 minus 75x squared. Leave it to you to, all I'm doing is multiplying all that stuff out, collecting like terms. All right, 17, I thought of right away of multiplying this out because I saw a plus and minus, and that always makes me happy because that means the middle term is going to cancel out. So meaning if I multiply this out, I get x squared minus 1 over x squared. And I rewrite this as, so x squared minus x to the minus 2. So now it just makes it very quick to bring the 2 down. X squared is 2x. Bring the negative 2 down, so that'll be a positive 2x to the negative 3, which is also the same thing as the way their answer was, which was B. Okay, so I wouldn't say these are harder than 1 through 15 or 14, they're just longer. Okay, so you're just doing the same thing. And then we get into the, oh my God, I need an entire piece of paper to do the quotient rule. And I don't care, those of you, in fact, I was talking to somebody before class, some of you already know the chain rule, and you could use that on quotient rule ones. Meaning, and I'm not going to do this with the chain rule because I don't want to confuse those that have not had this, but meaning you could take this x to the 7th minus 2, put it in parentheses to the negative 1, and bring it to the top. Yeah, interesting. And I have talked about you every class, Sarah. Sarah taught me this little thing, and I think, you tell me if I'm wrong, I've got it figured out. So we do this low D high minus high D low over low, low, and then Shorty's got low, 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 low. I added that part with the Shorty. You know, why do they always say Shorty in songs? I don't get it. So anyway, this was taught to me. Apparently this is how you learn it in high school, I guess. The low, leave it alone. The derivative of the high minus the high, leave it alone. The derivative of the low squared, low, low. Is that right? Yeah. The things I learn in here. And you know what would make me happy if I ever could meet Aunt Sally? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Who is she? Who is this lady? Oh, psst, don't psst me. All right, so anyway, psst, there you go. So this says my derivative, leave the bottom, leave it alone. X to the 7th, this ain't never gonna fit with that low, low, low. Can you go away? No. All right, so we'll figure that out. Minus 2, I left the bottom alone. I take the derivative of the top, which would be, hello?
2x minus 3.
You were asking a real question.
Yeah, we got over the Shorty's got low, 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 low. All right, leave the top alone. We'll get rid of Shorty. And then what's the derivative of the bottom?
7x to the 6.
All over the bottom squared. Now, never square the bottom until you get to the very end and you see if you need to for any reason. Probably will never need to. There might be a time that the top might factor and you can cancel something, but just never do anything with the bottom. So meaning this becomes, if I multiply all this stuff out, 2x to the 8th minus 3x to the 7th minus 4x plus 6. The reason I put these in brackets, I still see students at this level misdistributing that negative. So minus 7x to the 8th plus 21x to the 7th minus 14x to the 6th all over that squared. And if you collect like terms, you should get this. 18x to the 7th minus 14x to the 6th minus 4x plus 6 all over that bottom squared. X to the 7th minus 2. This would be like, probably this, about this level would be like what I would put on the quiz. However, number 19, and we won't do it today, I would like you to be able to do this without multiplying it out, okay? Meaning that if I have this and this, if I multiply this out, now it makes it easier to use my quotient rule. If you didn't multiply this out, and I would like you to practice with this because you're going to get to a point where you can't, meaning what's going to happen, you're going to have a product rule inside a quotient rule. It just gets messy and ugly, okay? Meaning that take the derivative, you're going to do these separate. When you have to take the derivative of the top, you're going to have to use the product rule. When you have to take the derivative of the bottom, you're going to have to use the product rule. So, and don't worry by this Friday, because I won't do that to you this Friday, but certainly by test, you should know how to do a product inside a quotient. All right, so now I just simply leave the bottom alone times the derivative of the top minus leave the top alone times the derivative of the bottom. Again, those of you that are pretty fast with your algebra skills hopefully recognize that being plus and minus, lots of things are going to cancel. If you don't, we'll multiply all this out. Your multiple choice just left this like that, okay? Meaning that we went back to this step and squared. Otherwise, I probably would have just written that with a square on it, okay? It means the same thing. And so I leave it to you to multiply this out. Surprisingly, lots of things cancel. And you should end up with this. X minus 1 squared, which is A. This is a good one to practice, but I would say your quiz is going to look more like 18. Okay, it would look like that. Or it could be 20. 20 is a good one just because it has the memory of this e to the x, e to the t. This s equals 2e to the t plus 1. S. So once again, I just go through and you ought to get where you say this stuff of leave the bottom alone times, what's the derivative of the top? There you go. Okay, because remember e to the t is just e to the t, and then we bring out the constant. Minus, leave that alone. What's the derivative of the bottom? 2e to the t, because that's a constant, so that becomes 0 all over 2e to the t plus 1 squared. And then surprisingly, when you multiply this out, things are going to cancel, and you get this squared, and this is what A. I apologize for those of you that have had this in high school and you were bored, but hopefully this helped most of you be able to get through these very quickly. And we will start 3.4 on Friday. Have a good week. What's happening?
I was wondering because I actually going after the value last Friday. Is there a way I can get like just an extra credit instead of trying to get like a 50 or something? For the quiz, right?
Oh, the quiz. Nope. I dropped 2 quizzes, so just figure it's one that'll be dropped. Yeah.
As long as you don't miss 2 more.
Yeah, exactly. And then y'all talk me into dropping 3. I mean, you have a lot of quizzes in this class.
Yeah.
I think I figured 11 or 12.